we are going to start with some self-myofascial stuff. Again, we've got like 7 different mechanoreceptors everywhere. And so like something like a massage gun, and that's just because the team I'm working with, that they did a really good job of marketing that thing, but there's only like 1 mechanoreceptor of the 7 that likes quick percussive type input. So that's all the massage gun's gonna get, if that's the mechanoreceptor you've turned the volume up on. But lots of times we turn the volume up on other mechanoreceptors, and so the massage gun in studies hasn't shown the efficacy of it being any better than lots of other interventions. So I have a like medium-sized like squishy ball. Some people have those like sensory balls. Some people have like a yoga tune-up ball. Some people have a tennis ball, which is fine. A tennis ball, I would say, just keep in mind, the more surface area, the more you're going to spread out the pressure. The less surface area, the more concentrated the pressure is going to be. So that's like the difference if you've ever had a massage where someone like sticks their thumb into your glute versus someone glides over your glute with their forearm. So if you have a smaller ball or a firmer ball, put it underneath a pillow or put it underneath a towel so you get more surface area and it gets dispersed. If you have a yoga tune-up ball, you're going to be fine, but it's not going to be all the way filled. It's going to be largely deflated. So the first thing we're going to get into, and this is for like, if you ever have that where it just feels like the low, like a tweak in the low back, and it could be kind of like it's either feels like a tight muscle or it's kind of not there, but then every once in a while there's sort of like a sharp zing that you might get, and there is some like guarding of that area, but it's maybe not all tight, feeling tight all the time, would be how I would describe it. We're going to take the ball, you're going to find your ASIS, so this hip bone here, and then the implement that you're going to use, this could also be a rolled pair of like ski socks. You're going to find this part, and the implement is going to go inside the ASIS towards the spine, but we're lower than the belly button to start. And we are going to move it up, da, da. So we're going to have it in like 4 different kind of quadrants. Okay? Maybe this also is a thing that if you're feeling like the start of constipation, you know, you've traveled and you've had a day where you like had to be at the airport early, so you like missed your usual bowel movement and things just feel kind of heavy down there, this would be another thing, but probably softer is going to be better because you've got some things taking up space in the abdomen already, being that bowel movement that you missed. So just be mindful of that. Let me stand this guy back up here. Okay, so we're going to come down onto our belly, and you're going to start by placing that ball there. Whatever side you place the ball on, the other side, because the ball is going to press you away from the floor, so it'll rotate you off of that object. You're going to use your other leg to rotate you back on the object to the degree that you feel like you're not twisted in the pelvis and you get the right amount of pressure on this that it works for you. Okay, also to start, turn your head in the direction of the same side as you've got the ball as you're there and you're breathing, and it's feeling like, oh, with each exhale, like I relax and the ball sort of comes into the space a bit more. You're gonna stay there. If after like 3 breaths, it feels like on the exhale, things just are tightening up on the ball rather than a feeling like melting and the ball being received, you'll reposition. So we're gonna come down, this guy. So you can see once I come on it, see how it rolls me that way a little bit. So that's where I can use this leg and put it where I want to put it that I get a bit more pressure on that ball that's tolerable and that I don't feel twisted in the pelvis. I could bring this leg in. Some people too, like this foot could come on to the other leg. And you're just going to breathe normally, but again, there should be a feeling with the exhale that it feels like you relax around the ball a little bit. Once you've done 8 to 10 kind of breaths with the ball in that place, reset. Just move it a few centimeters, kind of more towards the midline, and maybe up towards the belly button a little bit. You might turn the head away from the ball side, or you can keep the head turned in the direction of that ball side. Now this won't be devoid of sensation, where there's not much room in our abdomen. Things are packed in there quite tightly. So depending on the firmness of your ball, the softer the ball, the more surface area, the less kind of slight discomfort there might be with this. But again, there is a sense of us and the tissues kind of relaxing and receiving the ball versus just staying tightened and firm as you exhale on the ball. And again, once you've done 8-10 breaths, reposition again. Move up. Maybe you're just lateral of the belly button on this hip side. Also, something to note, I've got the bolster here. You could also put this shin of the leg that you've got the ball under up on a bolster. That'll change kind of the amount of pitch at that hip. Okay, and one last reposition on this side. Whatever way the head wants to turn. Okay, and with the next exhale, you'll just scoot the ball out. I like to take a second just to lay prone on my belly here with the the legs out long. Usually it'll feel like you've got sort of more abdomen in contact. The low back on that side will feel a little bit different. And then we'll go through the same thing on this other side. I'm gonna reposition my bolster right out of the gate. Any questions before we do that other side? Did everybody find positions that were workable with the prop that they had, the tool that they used? Okay, great. You can just throw a thumb up in the screen. I saw. Okay, good. Perfect. Okay. Fabulous. So now we're going to go to the other side. Same thing, just inside that ASIS. And then you'll place the other leg however you need to. Again, that it feels like you get the amount of pressure into that prop. And the untwist of the pelvis that feels good for you. You could place the forehead on the backs of the hands or turn ahead, left or right. Trust your instincts. If you take a couple breaths there and you're like, no, this doesn't feel right, turn your head the other way or reposition it. Okay, reposition that prop. You're gonna come medially a little bit more. Also to note, if that prop that you have is firmer or on a particular day, it's like, oh, that's too much pressure. Laying also with your torso like on a pillow can elevate you a bit. So again, there's not so much pressure going into that prop. Let's reposition. So rolling it up slightly. So we're just to this hip side of the belly button. And then one last reposition, moving out laterally again down lower. Okay, roll off of that prop. Again, scoot things out of the way. Just come prone onto your belly, or you can come onto your back, whichever to check in. Okay. And then we're gonna, so part one is getting the erectors, low back stuff to like chill out. And then part two is we wanna connect things and reestablish that connection from like the power pads of the feet, the engagement up the back line of the legs, where again, like the abs aren't maybe over bracing, or they're not sort of like kicking on where they want to, when they ought to be, so that the low back stuff is kind of guarding. And it's all sort of chicken and egg. Like it's like, who knows what starts what, but they kind of all happen together. So get on the power pads of the feet and have a sense of kicking through those power pads, that the hips just get light on the floor, and then you're going to let them drop back down. Kick through the power pads, and then let the pelvis come back down. Have one of your foam blocks handy. The next time you kick through the power pads, you're going to just slide it underneath that pelvis. And we want it more towards the sit bones than towards the low back. Okay, you could also, if you had two blocks the same height, you could put two underneath, side by each. I've only got the one this height, so I've just got the one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring one knee to my chest, and then I'm going to reach through the power pads of that foot and take the other leg out long. Now this is where I could use that other block and bring it underneath the thigh on an end. That again, then I can kind of start to ground or pitch that thigh into that block as this other knee and thigh, knee end pitches in the opposite direction. And then I'm going to take that out long leg and slide it so the heel is kind of underneath the butthole. I'm going to take that same arm as the leg that's long, reach it up, shimmy my shoulders, and just find kind of this half moon. So it's a very, very small side bend, but we've taken heel in line with butthole. Kind of think heel of hand if we were to go and line it up with the butthole from the other end, or the crown of the head. That's where it's going. Okay, we're going to bring the shoulders, head back in line with the hips. Bring that leg back in line with the hip. And then bring both feet to the floor. You might scoot that block over. Knee comes to the chest, other leg's gonna slide out. We're gonna bring that leg so that heel's more in line with the butthole, so leg comes medially. And then we're gonna reach that top arm up and take the head and shoulders over slightly. Okay, bring the head, shoulders, and arm back in line with the hips, and then bring that leg back in line with the hips. Bring both feet to the floor for a second, and then we're actually going to bring both knees up towards the chest. And you might take that extra block and bring it in line with the block that's underneath your pelvis. I think we're going to go this way. No, this way. And this way. Okay. So I had to kind of play with the configuration of my blocks so that they worked with my arm length. You'll do the same. So you might be good with one block going the long ways, but knees are going to come up towards the chest. You wrap your fingers around the block so the arms are pulling and the knees come into the belly. Hopefully the top of the pelvis is able to drop off the top edge of that block. Okay, and then you're going to bring one foot, kick into that power pad, the other foot, kick into that power pad, slide the block out, and just roll to your side. So we've got to do that